There seems to be a falling out even amongst Māori with what's happening there, that one group wants this, one group wants that. There doesn't seem to be a unified voice. Now I'm reading articles why the government can't stop and shouldn't get involved. Can you synopsize it for us?
I can,
so everybody, because I do keep an eye on politics quite heavily. I have to be honest with you, the American system's caught my eye a bit more than the New Zealand system today. But even from someone who keeps their eye a bit on politics, I don't quite get it.
It's hard, yeah. So the first thing I'll say is it is difficult. It is complex, absolutely. The second most important thing for people to understand is the division has been created by the initial Crown injustice, which was the Crown theft of the land back in 1863. The official declaration happened in 1865. So that initial Crown theft of that land from all of the mana whenua, that's the mess we're looking at today. What happened when the Crown took the land, and they took it because they concocted a phony rebellion and said if the Waikato Tainui people don't declare loyalty to British sovereignty, then this is what we're going to do. And it was against the kingitanga at the time. So that land was taken by the Crown, beautiful parcel of land, and it was later pretty much given to private ownership, to private non-Māori farmers, and they farmed it for 100 plus years, and then sold it for millions and millions and millions of dollars to Fletchers when the national government put through the speedy housing areas legislation.
So this is in the southern part of Ramangani, is that right?
Right next to the airport, actually, right next to the airport. We have got 800 years, the earliest site of human settlement, as well as the earliest site of European arrival settlement.
So that would mean to me, as a layman, even apart from the sacredness for Māori there, that actually it's a historically important site. Yeah, of course. Stone
fields erected, all those hundreds of years ago, archaeological, historical, culturally significant. Oh, you're so good. Culturally significant site for all peoples.
So this is looking back over the Manukau, is that right?
That's right, that's the Manukau Harbour. Now have a look at that maunga. There's a maunga there. Now Ihumātao has given so much to the people of Auckland and indeed the whole country. So that maunga has been desecrated for motorways, for quarrying. The harbour has had sewage dumped into it for decades and decades. The local rivers and creeks have had pollution and spill poured into them that ruined their eel, their species, their native plant habitats for decades and decades. This piece of land and these people have given so much for the rest of us. This is some of the most fertile volcanic soils and has also been feeding the country with the vegetables and produce that it grows as well. So the people who are occupying the land, and they are also mana whenua, they also have whakapapa interests to this land, as well as kawarau-āmaki who are saying, we want to support the build here. Now the thing is, when it comes to land disputes, we go to Bastion Point. There was not united agreement there.
Amongst Māori, you mean?
There was not. There were elderly who were saying to the young Joe Hawke then, pack up this protest and let's go home.
Right.
Pākai Tore, Whanganui, same thing. Raglan Golf Course, same thing. So this divide and rule tactic that has been caused by the initial injustice from the Crown is not new, but it is also healthy dissent among Māori communities where young people are constantly challenging the older generation of leadership. And I also want to say it's not just young people who are occupying the land. I was talking with kaumātua aunties, nannies and uncles who are there as well. So there's some misconceptions that are being put out into the wider discussion across the country. One of the big ones is that there is no kaumātua backing. That's not true. Another one is that the occupiers do not have whakapapa to the land. That's not true. The other one is that this land is being gifted back to iwi. Actually, they have to buy the houses. They still have to buy the houses. It's just a right of first purchase.
Right.
It's not that great a deal. I would love any iwi to actually be able to determine what's happening over the land that is not driven by a property development company, but that is actually driven by their own. So that's why the Greens are very clear. We want the government to listen to all the voices who are involved, not just one iwi or hapu. We want the government to understand that if there isn't a peaceful resolution and some leadership shown, we will see another bastion point of police dragging people off the land, because those occupiers and protectors, they ain't going anywhere.
So what's the solution? Let's be silly here and wave our magic wand. Wave our magic Kim Jong-un.
Yeah.
If you could write up the solution.
Yeah. Well, obviously, being able to take the land, buy the land back.
So Māori purchase the land, or Māori be given Crown purchase the land?
It could be local government, could be central government, could be partnership with philanthropist organisations. There are innovative solutions to acquiring the land back, and then being able to have a tikanga-led process for iwi to be able to come to a peaceful agreement over what happens with it.
So land is purchased back.
That's one option that's on the table. My big thing is it's up to mana whenua to decide what happens as a peaceful resolution. And this is why James and I wrote a letter to the Prime Minister in March. We simply can't, as government, ignore. That's not a solution at all. And I'm glad to see that because of the determination and commitment of the people, that government has had to change tack and sit up and get involved. The protectors are not going anywhere. And what's even more exciting for me is they're building more and more community. They're setting up tā moko tents, health and safety tents, study tents for students, the Filipino, Taiwanese, Pacific peoples, Muslim community, all sorts of different groups, unions, can see the injustice and the excitement. For me, I've been saying what's happening there really is the best of us.
I used to work as a talkback host on ZB.
I'm aware. I'm aware.
So, with the greatest of respect to ZB, the job, I loved it. It was a great amount of fun. There was often a lot of pushback with things like treaty settlements.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And, spending Crown money, et cetera, et cetera. But I was always of the opinion, and I used to try and retell someone's story.
Yeah.
So I would say to people, where are you from? Where is your ancestry? And they'd say, Ireland or England, or typically somewhere Caucasian is typically the answer.
Yeah.
I say, so if you found out today that, let's say you're from Ireland, you're from Northern Ireland, which is where my ancestry is, that the English government had taken 1,000 acres of land off your family 100 years ago, that land was now worth, several million pounds.
Well, they sort of did, didn't they?
But then I'd say to them, what would you be fighting to have some of that back today? And the ones who were full of crap would say, nope. And you'd go, you liar. You bloody liar. That's not true at all. And I think when we repackage it, to me it seems to be, I don't want to say simple, but if something was stolen that can be returned, it should be returned. Isn't that actually isn't that what we tell our kids?
Yeah, right.
You've taken that off that other kid at your school, give it back to them.
Now, Pat, we're gonna get a little deep here, because what we're up against is a discomfort when people's understandings and realities are challenged, and that's what we're coming up against. The fact that we don't have te reo and our colonial history in schools, and we grow up, some of us, all our lives with a misconception, and if we have based our lives on values and then those get confronted back to us and we find out we were living a lie, that's not comfortable for people. Fair enough that there will be some, no, I'll be fine, because what they're actually responding to is the fact that their entire foundation of belief is crumbling. When people's foundations crumble, it's really difficult for them to come to a place of compassion and understanding, and what humans tend to do instead is deny. So that's the exciting conversation that I'm starting to see a resurgence of. How the big challenge is, how do we get people to understand, actually, this is positive. This awakening and awareness is positive. You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. This is going to be a way for true peace for us with this wider understanding. But it's hard. That's hard for people.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, not wanting to oversimplify it, but I think that, I was raised by a good Irish Catholic family.
That's my whakapapa as well.
I got put into me various things from a very young age about doing the right thing, about being honest and, not stealing and saying please and thank you and those sorts of things. And I don't see at its most simple, if you expand that to a $10 million plot of land, how that should be any different. I mean, just because there's extra zeros, I don't see why the principle should be any different.
And also that... let's look further ahead. What will that actually mean? So in the case of Ōkahu Ngāti Whātua, Bastion Point, what did they do? They turned around and gave it all back. They protected parks and public spaces. They invite every year community events, hāngi, matariki, celebrations. So let's think beyond this initial discomfort of, now they'll want all their land back. And let's actually think, well, what does it actually mean? It's going to mean good things, because the guardianship principle of owning land and belonging to land is also a thing to benefit the challenges that we are now facing, and how we should be thinking, how do we want to in Aotearoa, how do we want to live together? And there is if we could get over this discomfort of, oh no, my identity is going to be threatened by affording people theirs, that should not be a trade-off.
I think this is part of the problem. While we're doing this, Jace, look up Jason Momoa on Instagram, Pride of Gypsies. We'll come back to
Trying
that.
to get him over to Ihumātao, by the way.
Okay, when you do, can you hook him up with me? Because I want him in that seat.
You're the first one up.
Yes. So he's Pride of Gypsies on Instagram. I think what you've said to me, which really resonates, is kind of their story, our story, kind of their. So this is what I am really. This is how I'm. You can tell by my beard how much Irish I've got.
I love the Irish story.
The ginger
and the shared dispossession stories.
Yeah, well, my family is Northern Ireland, Belfast. My Catholic roots. So like my ancestry are in
Catholics.
there. But what I was going to say is, and I used to do this when I was doing talkback, I'd often say I'm not Maori, but I because I'm of this land, because I'm a Kiwi, I'm a New Zealander, I'm born and bred, this is my home.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Maori story is part of my story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I can't, even though the ancestry might not be in the soil for me here, because I'm a part of this country and a part of this land, and this is my homeland, that story is a part of my story.
Absolutely.
And I think that kind of way of looking at it means it's not an us and them.
Yes.
It's
us together.
Yeah, because not through ancestry, but through my homeland, through this is my land as well. Yeah. It's my story. So the Māori story is my story.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a way of bringing people together in a way that you go, we're all in this together. It's not an us and them. It's almost like different factions. It's cousins, different factions of a whānau.
What we say is tūranga waiwai, or a place to belong, is for all of us here.
Yep.
Not just our Pākehā cousins who have been here for several generations, but also new people, newcomers coming to our lands from bringing their own stories of dispossession and disconnection as well. And everyone here under Te Tiriti needs to be able to feel affirmed in their right to belong. That's tūranga waiwai, your right to stand, your right for your feet to stand in a place and belong.